The question that's posed for my presentation, business as usual, financial investors and the media industry, well, business in newspapers is not usual. It's a very unusual business, and my contention is that in the present phase of newspapers' development, that financial investors do not have a constructive role to play. That might surprise you in some respects because, of course, Mecom Group plc, which is my company, was a partner of private equity when we first entered the Berlin market. And that was purely because Mecom Group at that point was a small private company. We had limited resources, and although the vision for the acquisition of Berliner Verlag and Berliner Zeitung was our vision, and our strategy was one where we would participate in the long-term development of the newspapers in Berliner Verlag, we were unable to raise the money by ourselves at that point. And therefore, although we had a very pleasant and friendly partnership with private equity at the beginning here in Berlin, it was inevitable that there would be a conflicting agenda between the shareholders in my company, Mecom, and the shareholders in the private equity partner. And that conflict has been clearly referred to by the moderator this morning. That conflict is that sooner or later, and preferably sooner, private equity looks for an exit. That is their primary objective. That's what they have to do to meet the demands of their shareholders. And let me explain where we are in this approach. Mecom Group plc is a company which has shareholders who are mainly pension funds in the City of London. They recognise our long-term agenda in the newspaper industry now across 5 countries in Europe, and that long-term agenda is to seek to navigate the transformation of newspapers from a pure printing business into much more of a content and consumer business. And I'll give you some reasons why that is necessary. So first of all, I'd like to emphasize what has happened in Berlin, first of all, because Berlin is our starting place and remains very important to us. And of course, Berliner Zeitung is a wonderful and great and historic institution in this city and throughout Germany. Secondly, I'd like to tell you about our vision for transformation of the printed newspaper industry into more of a content and consumer business, and how we're getting on in that respect. And thirdly, to conclude on the theme, why this creative and cultural change that newspapers are partaking in is not going to be advanced by private equity. First of all, a story from the recent past about newspapers. I'll not mention the country. It wasn't Germany, incidentally, but we had a regional newspaper manager somewhere in Europe contemplating the results of trading for the winter months. And he said to his board, "I have some good news and some bad news. First, the bad news. Our advertising on tombstones," and tombstones are the obituaries as we call them in the UK, "our advertising on tombstones is well below budget for the winter months. However, our subscription revenue is well in excess of budget, and the reason for that is it's been a very mild winter and our readers are not dying in normal numbers." It's a story that indicates the challenge of newspapers, and it's not that readers die, because media consumers do die, unfortunately. It is the challenge of getting new readers to replace the ones who depart. And that challenge has always been, for newspapers, something that has concentrated minds, young readers and new readers. But of course, the environment has changed because there's so much more competition in media, so many more routes to market for both the readers and for the advertisers. So the challenge